Hey, everybody. This is Sasquatchers, and that means once again you are here with JC and AC. That's right. So tonight we have a cool guest and somebody that we're excited to speak with. And I will allow them to introduce themselves after the introduction.
The truth is out there. Never stop looking. Never be sheep. Always disrupt. We are the ungovernable. We are the truth seekers. We are Sasquatchers.
All right, so we're sitting here with Greg Feketik, and we're going to let him tell us a little bit about himself.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. My name is Greg Feketik. I've been investigating the paranormal since 1991. I am currently the lead paranormal investigator at the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. I've written a couple books, co-organizer of a paranormal and psychic convention called Parasycon, which is held at the Ohio State Reformatory. Done a bunch of other stuff too in all my time in the paranormal field. So I keep busy.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. True. I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were gonna mess his name up.
Oh, you did really well. That was good job.
Thank you. Yeah, no.
Sorry, Drew. When you first, you've been interested in like paranormal for most of your life, right? And you were in the Air Force in 1976, were honorably discharged in 1980, and then you joined the Twinsburg Police Department in 1982. I did my research, everybody. Very rarely, but I did it. So what interested me is actually, so I'm not sure where you live now. Don't out yourself. But I live in the Cleveland area myself. So I have a feeling we probably live pretty close together here. But in 1991, you conducted your first investigation, and that was of one of your fellow officers' homes.
Correct.
So what was that? What was that like?
Back then, everybody knew that I was into the paranormal and everything. So it's like the guys didn't, kid me about, you're in ghosts and everything. But they were all interested. And one of my fellow officers, he started talking with me and claimed that he believed his house was haunted. And I'm like, oh, great. Let's go see if we can capture something. Of course, back in 91, just starting out, I basically had an old big giant VHS recorder. And so we just set that up in his house. Didn't know that much about investigating at the time, but we set it up in his house, let it run for the night. And we captured something that to this day, I still can't explain. And basically, he would claim that while he was sleeping at night, a couple times he was woken up and he would see a upper torso of a woman that was like greenish that would be floating across the room. So we set up the camera in his room and we captured some sort of greenish, glowing, pulsating light coming from the foot of the bed. And there's a long story after that, but it got me hooked. That got me hooked. We couldn't figure it out, what it was.
Sorry to interrupt. I just had the question because when you said that, the first thing for me, and I'm gonna guess from the shirt that you have on, you might kind of have similar taste. The first thing that I thought of when you had said that was almost like a plasmatic Slimer kind of situation. So is that like an orb, or did it have any kind of corporeal appearance?
No, what this was, on the video, it's pitch black. The room is pitch black. Of course, I didn't have night vision back then on my VHS camera. And slowly, it looks like the foot of the bed, even though it's dark, when this light starts pulsating, you can see like the corner of the bed. And it's just a light that just starts growing, and then it lights up the whole screen, and then it just disappears. But prior to that, there was a lot of electrical interference. The screen would be jumping up and down, and it'd be going black and white, and just a bunch of interference. And then this green glowing light comes out from beyond the foot of the bed. And like I said, it just pulsated, just got bigger and bigger, and then no form, just big glowing ball of light. Now, the crazy thing is, so I went over to his house and, watched it there. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to bring this home and show it to my family. So I bring it home and I'm like, oh my God, you guys got to check this out. This is so weird. And started playing it. All the interference is there, but there's no ball of light. I'm like, what's going on here? So I called him back, went back to his house, played it there, and there's the ball of light. Now, I know this sounds freaking crazy, but the only area that we can get that to play on a video camera was at his house. I mean, if I brought my VCR over to his house, it would play. My VCR at my house, it did not play. Now, I know that sounds freaking weird. What I had to do was actually set up my video camera at his house and videotape the TV.
And then that footage worked when you took it out?
Yes. And what's crazy, because I still have the original VHS tape, the original one that where the light was supposed to be, that it's not there. But the one that I videotaped off this TV, you can see the light. So
yeah, that's super interesting. I've never heard of anything like that before. That's like completely unique.
Yeah, it's like even back then, I was smart enough to at least keep the tape and record it, try to figure out what's going on. So I got both tapes. One shows the green light, one doesn't.
Yeah, well, that's a really cool experience. I think that's awesome.
And obviously back then with VHS tapes, it's not like cell phones. You can't manipulate anything. And, both videos are, from that point to that point. I think it was happening at like 3:14 a.m. So if you start it from, 3:13 to 3:15, it's, 2 minutes long, and both of them are 2 minutes long, and everything corresponds. It's just that one, there's no light.
What is interesting as that sounds, I'm curious if you found any other evidence in that house, or was that just the only incident that you were able to pick up?
No, back then I was just starting out, and I was just so freaking excited that we actually captured something. But then that really got me hooked on everything, and that's when I actually started researching and doing more. And in fact, I investigated a couple other officers' houses too, right after that. So
paranormal events, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you find any evidence similar to like something that outstanding, like what you just told us about, or was it there just kind of different, obviously, by house and person?
Right. And back then, no, didn't get a lot of evidence captured at their houses. But, I have had lots of experiences and, enough evidence that I've captured over the years. And some of it's been pretty crazy. I've had some pretty crazy experiences. And I'm not a skeptic of the paranormal. I mean, stuff does go on. I can't tell you if it's, life after death, or if it's ghosts or spirits coming back. I am skeptical on a lot of the evidence out there, on the internet and everything like that, and what people claim to capture. Most of it, I don't think is paranormal.
Hoaxing is at an all-time high right now. all you got to do is jump on TikTok and start scrolling through the paranormal
Yep.
videos there, and
Oh yeah.
it's almost become, like a side business of people to create these hoax videos for views. So it's probably the most difficult time in the history of investigations to kind of wade through the evidence.
Yeah, yeah. It's like sometimes friends and I will watch all those videos on like YouTube or TikTok, and we're like, man, that's fake. That just doesn't happen, and,
Right.
and especially when you have some of them where wherever they go, they got crazy things happening. I'm like, I've been on, like I said, I've been on hundreds and hundreds of investigations and really haven't come across anything that is in some of those videos. I mean, it's great for entertainment. I mean, some of them are really good. I really like them, but it's just, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. I'm acquainted with somebody who accidentally created a very popular viral hoax, and then he felt obligated to keep it going
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, but he never intended for anything like that to happen. And so there's I just, from experience, there's even people who can just so easily debunk this stuff. uh, I've considered adding that to our platform and kind of the stuff that we do and what we offer as far as our social medias go, but I feel like I'd also kind of be fibbing a little bit, because as interested as we are, I've technically been on one, maybe two investigations in my entire life. So even to just sit down and discredit stuff, I would feel like a phony.
Right.
But
Right. And, and I'm not out there to discredit, or that's why I wouldn't even name any videos or YouTube channels. I mean, I find it all entertaining. I love this stuff. I love, scary movies and stuff like this. And some of those videos out there are better than some of the movies. So,
Yep.
I love it. But as far as people trying to pawn it off as real, nah, it's entertainment. And I mean, obviously, the more subscribers they have, the more money they get. And, it's all a business. It's all a business, and a lot of people believe that all that stuff that they see is real.
yeah, for sure. Super big business right now.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I'm curious, and I'm sure we'll probably jump into some of the more kind of linear style questions. But considering you've been doing this for literally almost as long as I've been alive,
Pretty
uh,
much as long as I've been alive. Yeah.
I'm curious uh, if you have ever had any experiences that ended up being like what's your biggest letdown from an investigation? Like you went into an area, you had X amount of information given to you, or you might have been expecting something as unique and cool as the story that you started out with, and then just something that was just a total disappointment.
Yeah, we do a lot of private homes, and the vast majority of those private homes are people who claim that there's demons. There's
Yeah,
demons in their
yeah,
homes. And, you're always like, maybe, but, you go there and our clients are like, when you come here, you're going to be a believer because stuff happens all the time. And, I guarantee it. And then we go there and it's like, there's nothing here, or you can find out what's causing what they're experiencing. So a lot of times there are logical explanations for what people are experiencing, and it's not paranormal. So
right.
I mean, those are letdowns. I've never come across any demonic uh, activity in any private home or business, but I think they do watch a lot of TV and movies, and we all know that everything there is demonic. So,
Yep.
but there again, like I said, I've been doing this a long time. I have never come across anything demonic. And if I did, I am not qualified to handle that situation. and I wouldn't want to handle that situation. So
We got a priest on speed dial if you ever need anyone.
That's true. One of our earlier guests was
But Father Vincent Lampert.
yeah, and very well known exorcist.
Yeah, I do have a friend that if we do come across a case, I do reach out to him, and it's like, hey, what do you think? So
Yeah, an interesting point that can be made there is we've spoken at this point to quite a few paranormal investigators, and I'll even throw out the term ghost hunters because I know that that's kind of like a separate thing, but equally as popular. And nobody really has ever spoken about finding or coming across anything that they would call demonic. And most of the time, they don't even like to talk about it or refer. Like we've had
some won't even say the name; they just call it a D word.
And I think that's really curious to me that you almost don't want that to be the case. Like I think walking into a location and coming face to face with that kind of power is kind of like a very terrifying proposition, but almost is like something everybody wants to come across in this field, but equally has no desire to deal with it or even speak about it. Like
right,
almost just the confirmation that it's there and it exists is almost kind of like, I don't know, like a collectible or something that they can add a notch to their belt or something. But then
right,
once they get to that, it's okay. Well, what do we do now?
right.
There's not a lot that one can do. So
Right.
it's an interesting dichotomy with demons and paranormal investigations. It's something that I've learned in the course of these conversations that we've been having with people. I had another kind of oddball question, but I lost my train of thought while we were talking about the demons there for a second.
That'll come back.
Yeah, hopefully. So it was a doozy. I thought it was like an out of the park question that you may never have even been asked before. And you might go the course of this interview and not be asked it because it's gone.
What so out of your hundreds of investigations, what was your favorite location to investigate? The one that really sticks out for you?
I've got a few of them. A couple private homes that there were things going on in there. A location that I managed in Lorain, Ohio, that was called St. Joseph Hospital. That I love that place. Another favorite place of mine is up in Madison Seminary. Love Madison Seminary, and of course the Ohio State Reformatory where I work. Those are my top 5 locations where I've had activity and just cool locations.
As a paranormal investigator, I'm curious if you would find an investigation to be more successful if you walked in and were able to find regular explanations for everything that's been occurring, or if you walk in and then almost can confirm that there's something paranormal, possibly a haunting going on. I mean, those are 2 separate ideologies, but are also kind of, pursued
Right.
in the same investigation. So,
right. Well, my team is we don't go into any place to try to prove the existence of ghosts or hauntings. And we do our private resident investigations because we want to make our clients feel comfortable in their homes and businesses. So that's why we were going in, because a lot of these people, they don't know what's going on. They just know that things are. So we will never go into a house and be like, oh my God, this place is so active, it's so haunted. We go in, it's like trying to find logical explanations. And a lot of the times, our private resident investigations, it's not haunted. It's more that has to do with maybe high EMF in the house. In fact, one time we went to this one house, and the client was giving us a tour, and most of the stuff was happening in the kitchen and down in the basement. She did not like the basement. She did not like going down in the basement. She's got these funny feelings of being watched and everything. Well, when we went down into the basement, we immediately knew what the problem was. She had a really bad gas leak. So, so we're like, we got to get out of this house now. We got her out of the house. We called the gas company. They came to the house, and they're like, you guys did the right thing. There was a big gas leak downstairs and a smaller gas leak coming from the stove in the kitchen. So there again, it's one of those cases where it's not haunted. It's, gas leak. And there's a lot of times where it's high electromagnetic fields in the house that are messing with them, to put it bluntly.
Yeah, and I don't know, from the sounds of it, you guys were called in to do this investigation and pretty much, saved her life.
And we didn't do an investigation, obviously, because we found out what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I mean, that in itself is kind of a cool feat.
Yeah,
too,
so that was very successful. Anytime we go there and we can figure out what's going on, it's always successful. Now, sometimes we go there and there are no logical explanations. So then that's when we will do a full-blown investigation. And most of the time we don't capture any evidence because, we may be there one evening, depending on how long, but these people, they may, let's say they have 20 things, 30 things happen in a year. Well, that's a lot to them. But the chances of us are finding something when we're there, for one night is like finding a needle in a haystack.
Right. Have you ever stayed at a location longer than that?
Not really. I mean, it also depends on the homeowner too. I mean, when we used to investigate, we stayed there till like 5 a.m. in the morning, but they're like, I can't stay up this late. So, and to really do a proper investigation, I mean, you got to stay there for a while. And I'm not talking about one night. Yeah, I'm not talking about 2 nights. I'm talking about as long as it takes. And,
Right.
none of us, this is not a full-time job for us. We don't get paid for this. And, we don't want to disrupt the homeowners either. And obviously they don't want their lives disrupted too. But to do a proper one, my belief is that you got to stay there for, probably at least a week, and have stuff going all the time.
Yeah, I think in the earlier days, even maybe pre-Warrens, people would like live at the houses with their clients and
Oh yeah.
stay there for 6 months at a time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that is one thing that it's always kind of tough, and they don't really show that side on television.
No.
And we always bring up when we talk about these topics how sensational TV is, but that's one thing that they might spend 5 days shooting on location, but for whatever reason, that just isn't as exciting as everything happening during the course of one night. So it's edited to kind of look like that. But I mean, in my opinion, I think if you lay it out as we were here 5 days, and this is what we found in the course of those 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
I think, not just being more realistic, but I find that kind of more exciting. There's that sense of
Right.
adventure that is kind of tossed into it.
Mm-hmm. And for those who've done investigations, they know that it's boring. It's real boring. And, since we're not out there to prove the existence of an afterlife or to find evidence, it's not necessary for us to stay out there that long. Most of the time, we can determine what's going on or what's not going on in one evening or one night, depending on if they do have high EMF or stuff like that. And most of the time, all our clients, they're not afraid. They're not afraid. That they just want to know that they're not crazy.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good proposition to kind of have in that scenario.
right, right.
Um, I'm curious what kind of equipment you use when you're doing this stuff.
I don't like a lot of the equipment. Um, for me, there's no scientific proof that any of this equipment detects any ghosts. I do like an audio recorder and a video camera. And I do like EMF devices. So, and that is at the beginning of an investigation. When we arrive at a residence, I want to try to find high EMF. I'm not trying to find spirits or ghosts. I'm trying to find high EMF in the house, possibly something that would be causing what they're experiencing. And we have. And we've told people, it's like, get rid of that clock radio near your bed. Get rid of that ceiling fan or that table fan. Get rid of a lot of this stuff, and it will take care of your problems. And they do, and it takes care of their problems.
Okay, interesting. I listened to Art Bell a lot growing up,
Oh, me too.
and okay, so I cannot remember the one guest's name, but he would frequently have on these paranormal investigators, and there was this one woman, and she was at the time pretty old, so I'm not even sure, when
And
she
one
got
I can
in.
think of is Lorraine Warren.
Yeah, see, I know he used to have her on, but it wasn't Lorraine. It was her last appearance was in 2015 on Midnight in the Desert, and I just the name is escaping me. But she said that the one thing that she went out with on an investigation was a tape recorder, and she would just still in the 2000s was using a tape recorder so that she could get
Mhm.
EVPs that
Right.
way, and that she didn't trust technology, and that she said that the analog picked things up differently that digital didn't pick up. So I lo- that's one thing that I really like about this field is that I mean there is lots of engineering going on, but the science is still experimental. So
Right.
I mean, I think the spirit box was invented so that somebody could try to talk to aliens, and
Hmm.
now it's almost kind of like the standard equipment for a lot of people when they're going out doing these things to try to speak to spirits. So I just think that the engineering side of it is interesting, but I guess because I was brought up into it by that generation of people ahead of me, I just kind of also share kind of that romance of, well, grab the VHS recorder or,
Hmm.
get a tape recorder and see what you can find there.
Hmm. Yep. Most of the evidence. Oh, and I think I remembered that woman's name was something like Lori Moulton Howe or something like that.
Yeah,
I think it
Linda
was
Moulton Howe, I think.
Linda.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Linda.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Morton Howe or something like that. But most of the evidence that we do capture are EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon, on the video cameras and audio recorders. Um, Now, there's, well, unlike some of the devices like the REM pods, certain man-made objects can make those go off, like walkie-talkies or other man-made devices, and K2 meters, cell phones, and there are different things in the airwaves can cause those devices to go off. That's why you really have to be careful when you're using them. Make sure that something surrounding you, or maybe surrounding the location that you're at, isn't setting that stuff off. But EVPs, how do you explain some of these voices that respond to your questions? Especially if you do an EVP session right, where you're doing everything, you're calling out every little noise you hear. I mean, to me, that's there again, it's not proof of an afterlife. And I probably won't accept anything until the science, says that, yeah, this stuff is real. But it's really intriguing, and sometimes there's no explanation for what is captured. In fact, the one house I talked about, one of the private homes that we did, we actually captured an EVP that, to me, it still boggles my mind. To make a long story short, we actually captured a EVP on a video camera in the little girl's room, and they had a lot of stuff going on in this house. I mean, lot of stuff, voices, shadows, rocking chairs, footsteps, just a ton of stuff. And on this video, a couple of our investigators, they're trying to figure out what fell in there while they were in there investigating. And as they're talking amongst themselves, there's this loud male voice. What he says is, "How's it going?" Really loud, very clear, just like that. And I'm like, that's got to be you guys, but it's not, because they're talking amongst themselves, and they're the only two up there. Well, this was so clear and so identifiable. We brought the video to our clients, and she said, "My grandfather used to always say, 'How's it going?'" So we took the video clip to her mother and her uncle, and they both identified the voice as their deceased father. Now, how do you explain that? And that happened back in 2007. Like I said, prior to that, they were having all this activity. Once we knew who was there, we just said, "Hey, they know you're here. You're scaring them. Can you please stop?" That was in 2007. They still live in the house, and they haven't had a problem since. And I bet your grandpa is still watching over them.
Yeah, that's almost kind of like a reassuring.
Yeah, so that's one of those things. It's like, how do you explain that? And that voice was so loud and clear, just in a small room. And the two investigators, they never heard it because they never responded to it. So that's one of the video clips I love showing people at my presentations.
Yeah, that's cool to have too, because as much as I like EVPs, sometimes it's strenuous to try to piece them together, and it's like, okay. I mean, if you say that's what that says, I'll take your word for it. But I don't hear it. But have you ever investigated outside of Ohio, or
of course?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. My wife and I, we've investigated over in Scotland, investigated a couple haunted, we actually investigated numerous places over in Scotland. We've investigated in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky, Florida, Colorado, Louisiana, Arizona.
What was Scotland like?
A lot different than here. I mean, there is such a long history there. Right now, I mean, some of the most active locations that we've investigated may be like 1800, 1810 around here. And I think the oldest one may have even been before that, the Myrtles Plantation. I think that was like the late 1700s. But you go over to Scotland, a couple of those castles we investigated were, 1200s. So, long history over there. Very, very, very cool. I loved it over there.
Did you get anything interesting?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We got this one castle. It's called Dalhousie Castle. It's just outside of Edinburgh, and we actually stayed there. It's a cool place. It's actually a castle spa hotel. So we investigated in a place called the Dungeon Restaurant, which was closed for the night, but we're in there investigating. And we had a couple things happen, but most of the time they're the EVP type things. So we captured what sounds like a dog walking across the tile floor. So you could hear the nails like running across the floor. Now, at the time, we didn't know that this hotel is haunted by the spirit of a dog.
Oh,
So, but we did get the dog, and then when we were sitting in the restaurant, one of the employees was going home for the night, and they weren't expecting us to be in the restaurant. And he kind of like screamed because he scared the crap out of him. And then he walks away, and as he walks away, we picked up an EVP that says, "Don't go," to him. Don't go. So.
Oh wow. That's interesting to me because I've always wanted to bring this up when we talk to investigators, but it seems to me as a chef, and I've been in quite a few kitchens, and every restaurant I've ever worked at seems to be haunted. And I'm not saying that it actually is haunted, but I couldn't pinpoint a single restaurant that I've worked at in 20 years where each and every single employee there doesn't swear that it's haunted. And I don't know what it is about a kitchen environment, or if it's just the equipment and front of the house don't understand that, this ice machine is going to kick on and it's going to cause, that thing over there to start rattling. And I don't know what it is, but restaurants are just haunted.
I've investigated numerous restaurants. So yeah, you may have something there.
Yeah, it's every restaurant that I've ever been in. I thought it was me for the longest time, but then I kind of sat back and looked at it as a whole, and it's kind of funny. I don't know beyond that if there's any other point to be made, but I'm definitely always curious to hear about restaurant investigations because of my history and background with them.
Yeah. I just remember, we've done several of them, yeah.
It's the depression and languish that happened.
Yeah.
So Greg, you I think you've written 2 books, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, there's Insights into the Unknown, The Ghost Hunter's Journey, and Roads into the Unknown, Ghost Hunter's Journey continues.
Mm-hmm.
So what, not a lot of paranormal investigators. There's tons of them out there, and a lot of them do write or write books, and things like that. But I see that, just looking at your 2 books here, it kind of is giving the stories of some of your experiences in these places. Do you have any other books that you're looking to publish or write? Or
Yep. This one I've been wanting to do for a while, and hopefully I'll actually start it within the next month or so. But I'm doing one about the Ohio State Reformatory, so that's going to be my next book.
And that's also where Parasycon is, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you also, we I don't think we've covered yet, is that you also have your own ghost hunting team called Tri-C Ghost Hunters that you started in January of 2013.
Yep, 2013. Yeah, we started that. My wife and I, we actually belonged to another team from 2005 to 2012. And then 2013, we started our own team. And I think when we started it, we had like 8-9 members on the team. Right now, we have about 45. And we call ourselves Tri-C because we have teams in Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati, Ohio. So we cover the whole state.
Yeah, so I was looking at the Cleveland team to see if there's anybody I knew on it, but there's not. But it looks like the Cleveland team has some investigations coming up. And then obviously Parasycon, which is the third weekend in May. And you have some guests at Parasycon, like that some of our listeners are going to know, like Dave Schrader, Ben Hansen, Katrina Weidman, John Zaffis, among others that are listed on there. We have the website here in the video for people who want to check that out. And the t-shirt's really cool, and I think it's behind you.
Yes, yes, it is. That is the Parasycon t-shirt. I just got the souvenir coins today. Every year we do a souvenir coin for Parasycon. We've been doing Parasycon since 2019, but this is 21, 22, 20. This is the fourth year that we're doing a souvenir coin. So this is, let me see. So that's the front of it. And so the front pretty much stays the same every year, but the back, we change up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there it is. Cool.
So it's pretty cool. It's glow in the dark. All that green is glow in the dark. So just got these in the mail today. So this is something that we have for sale, and we provide these for our Premier Package members. They get these for free, and then we do have them for sale for any of the guests.
It's pretty cool. That's one of the things that I did want to jump into in this conversation. I'm very curious for a number of reasons how you ended up, starting Parasycon or getting involved with conventions and running one yourself. It's something that we've been kicking around trying to do, and I just have no experience. I have no idea what it takes to actually get one off of the ground. And so I think when we had the opportunity to chat with you, I was like, all right, I'm going to start picking in his brain a little bit and kind of learn how it all kind of came together.
Well, now I was a retired police officer, and I used to organize our department's open house. It was a citywide open house for the police department and the fire department. So I started doing event planning for that. My wife, that was part of her job. She was an executive assistant and an event planner. And she used to do events down in like the Bahamas, Mexico. She used to do destination weddings. She would plan events out in Hawaii. So she would do all these big conferences through her work. So she had that experience, and I had my experience. And then it all started in 2000. It was in 2016, where this is when we were managing St. Joseph Hospital in Lorraine. Well, one of our team members at the time, her son was tragically killed in a car accident. So we did a fundraising event for her at the hospital. And then after that, I'm like, we could probably maybe start doing this a yearly thing. So 2017, we did it at St. Joseph Hospital. It was called the Old St. Joseph Hospital Psychic and Paranormal Fair. And then we did that in 2017 and 2018. And 2018, we shut down the hospital because conditions inside the hospital were deteriorating. So, and at the time, my wife and I were working at the Ohio State Reformatory, and in 2017, I became the lead paranormal investigator. And I asked them if we could move our event up there to the Ohio State Reformatory. And that was back in 2019. And they said, yeah, sure. So, we started it then, and we're still going strong now. But it is a big event. That's all I do. That's all I do is from the time the like this past year when that one was over, we immediately started getting to work on this year's event. So, with our celebrities, we got to sign celebrities on board. We got to get hotels for celebrities and our vendors. We've got to get marketing, just a whole bunch of things. We got to get vendors, and it's just never ending. Now I'm doing TikTok videos on Parasycon to start promoting it that way. So it's fun though. I love it. I think I'd be bored to death if we quit it. And so we do that one. I love it. It's a lot of work during the event. And as an example, during the event, some of our team members, it's run by Tri-C Ghost Hunters. We just hold it at the Reformatory. The Reformatory is the location. The Reformatory is not putting on the event. But some of our team members will get there like 10 a.m. Friday, and they will work almost nonstop until Sunday about 8, which Saturday is like the long day. They will get into OSR about 7 a.m., and they won't leave there to almost 3 a.m. Sunday morning.
That's a grind.
It is, but luckily it's only one weekend out of the year. So we do that big one, and then my wife does a smaller one in September, not at the Reformatory, at one of our other locations. But I love doing Parasycon. It's rewarding. A lot of our team members just love it, and it's a good event. It's all about giving back. We do a food drive and a pet supply drive. And my wife and I, we own a business called Black Shamrock Events that actually is the one that puts on Parasycon. Her and I are the co-organizers. And all the money that we do make, the profit, we donate back to the Reformatory. We make no money off the event.
No, that's incredible.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool to hear because a lot of the convention circuits don't do that. And I'm not just talking about like paranormal stuff. One of the reasons that I find myself so interested in it is because I grew up. Now I'm in my 30s, so I started going to conventions when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is before Comic-Con blew up and turned into like the biggest thing in the world. I remember going to comic book conventions, and it was just like dudes selling comics in long boxes. And in the Pittsburgh area, especially, there was some really, really shady convention circuits. And there was always things like what you said, where there's going to be donations and nonprofit. And that was always advertised. And that it was revealed that in our area that actually wasn't happening, and they were pocketing everything. And I actually think the dude who was running the one convention, he wound up in jail, I think for murder of all things.
Oh.
And so some other people bought it, and yeah, it's the convention scene is wild, and as sometimes it seems like the Wild Wild West or something, and so it's cool in that whole kind of field of circus and pageantry that your event comes across in particular so well. And during the course of just our podcast, we've come across so many people that are excited about it, and I think that speaks kind of volumes for what you all are doing with it.
And well, yeah, you're from the Pittsburgh area, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we just teamed up with Hearst Mania, and most of them are from the Pittsburgh area. So, and with that is we're going to have about 70 to 75 hearses that are going to be part of Parasycon. They're going to be parked out along the west side of the building. They got their own area over there. So, they're going to be out there. We're planning on having them do a parade from their hotel to the Reformatory on Sunday morning.
Nice.
So we're excited about having them with us, and we've heard a lot of people that are excited about them being there. So that's going to be fun too. This is going to be new for us teaming up with them.
Are they going to throw candy in the parade?
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? That's the guy that runs that. It's like, you know what? That baby's yours. You got to plan all that stuff. You're going to plan the parade. So whatever you want to do, we'll make sure you guys, have places to park when you get there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I do remember when that was announced that I saw some excitement on Facebook about it. I don't know if it was your graphic or somebody else's graphic, but that made the rounds, a couple of months ago
Mm-hmm.
on social media. So that is something that we were aware of, and we are looking forward to. We're planning to attend. We had reached out, but I assume so many people also reach out. Is it like you get so many submissions that you have kind of set aside an area just for new vendors, right? Or am
No,
I
I mean,
mistaken?
we have about 100 vendor tables that for those that are familiar with the reformatory, we use the whole central guard room, the whole east diagonal, and the whole west cell block, and the bullpen. So we're at our limit. We can only have like 100 tables in there, and right now they're all filled. They've been all filled since September. And right now we have a wait list of about 70 vendors waiting to get a table spot. So who knows? It's like, especially when you have friends that are like, hey, can you get me a table? It's like,
Yeah.
no, it depends on if somebody cancels or not, and depends on what type of table that they have. But also Hearst Mania will be having their own vendors out near their area. So
Oh, okay.
I think we have about 20 spots set out for their vendors, because when they do events, they have their vendors that they work with. So that's strictly, I mean, they have to go through Parasycon, but it is Hearst Mania who is like getting their vendors.
Well, it sounds like, people are like knocking your door down to try to work with you. I'm curious, do you maybe have any ideas for expanding and maybe moving to a larger location at some point in the future?
Well, one of the things, I mean, I throw everything out there. I'm like, you know what, maybe we should move to a different location, but I don't want to, and nobody does, because we're at the Ohio State Reformatory. That is a big draw. I mean, a lot of conventions are at like regular hotel, conference centers and stuff like that. There's no ambience there. If you go to one, you went to all of them pretty much. But having it at the Ohio State Reformatory is just, it is just such a fantastic venue to do this.
Yeah.
We have talked about trying to expand it in there, but I kind of don't want it to get so big that it may not seem like anybody's there, if you're using the whole facility. But you know what? We're open to anything. We'll have to see what our attendance is this year. And then, what we can look at it until next year. One of the things that we've thought about is also moving it into the East Cell Block. East Cell Block is not as nice as the West Cell Block, but maybe with some cleanup and everything, maybe we could do it over there. But I don't want it to get really, really, really huge where we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of vendors. I would rather keep it this many and have a quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure.
Yeah, I go to a decent amount of like retro computer festivals and stuff, and I can tell you that some of the ones that I really used to like, even around the Cleveland area here, that's what they did. They just kept expanding, and now it's just all it is people wanting to sell you the same thing. Everybody's got the same thing trying to sell you stuff.
Right, exactly. Exactly. That's like, I have, and that's another thing, Drew. It's like we have 100 different vendor tables and all different types of vendors. So you have to make sure that you don't have the same type of vendors next to each other. So everything's spread out. So let's say I get one author that cancels. I would like to replace that one author with another author who's on the wait list. So I don't want to replace him with maybe a jewelry because he may be right next to a jewelry place. So I don't want like people trying to compete with each other.
Yeah, that's a fair point there. And again, kind of adds to that whole idea that there's like almost kind of like a science that goes into this. And
Yeah.
uh, yeah, but it's definitely going to be huge. People are talking about it all over social media. Like I said, we just had we had a guest on not too long ago, and she said she was going to be there. I don't believe as a vendor, but she said she was going to make sure that she was going to show up there.
Very
So
nice.
even people that we're talking to just on our weekly show are very excited about it. And I'm going to make the road trip out, and we're gonna come hang out too, and kind of try to rub elbows and meet
There you
people,
go.
and um, just check it out. We're pretty excited and pumped to do that.
I think you guys would have a good time there. So we do have speakers. You can go, chat with the personalities. We'll have a bunch of food trucks there. So I mean, you can just
And
make a whole day. Like I said, Hearst Mania, and it's going to be a fun 2-day event. But
Yeah,
it doesn't. The main event is on Saturday and Sunday, but when we advertise, we say it's Friday through Sunday. And the reason we do that is Friday night there is a VIP meet and greet. So what that is, we're going to have about, I think it's about 25, 26 special guests. So all of the personalities will be there, speakers, past speakers, and you can come hang out with them, BS with them. We're going to have a bunch of appetizers, and there'll be like free non-alcoholic drinks with a cash bar. There'll be a DJ, and our friend Dave Schrader is actually doing a celebrity memorabilia auction toward the end of the night there too. So that'll be fun.
very cool. I'm a big fan of Dave. We are anxiously awaiting him as a guest on this show. We've been talking to him for a while, and he just is
Oh yeah.
such a busy guy.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure anybody listening to this show is also a fan of Dave. We kind of we've established what our fan base is and who we are. So I think that's pretty appealing to me, and I think that appeals to anybody listening right now as well. Before we go ahead and wrap it up, at the end, I always like to pass it over to the guests again to reiterate any of your links, anything that you want to promote. Obviously, we just spent a good amount of time on Parasycon, but if there was any other stuff that you wanted to get out there, floor is yours. You're absolutely able to go ahead and do that.
Well, thank you, Drew. Well, as you see, the websites are on there. Parasycon, go there. That'll tell you everything you need to know about Parasycon. But I also would love people to go to tcghohio.org. And the reason for that is, besides the Ohio State Reformatory, where Tri-C is the resident paranormal team, we have 3 other locations that we are involved with. We have the Delaware County Jail down near Columbus, Ohio, and Delaware, Ohio. We have the old Grafton School in Grafton, Ohio, and then we have the Wandle House Museum in Brewster, Ohio. You can book private hunts at any of those locations. And like I said, we manage a couple of those locations, and the prices are reasonable. And there again, all the money that they collect for those hunts goes back to those businesses. We don't take any money.
And you know what? When somebody says something like that, that should put them at the top of your list as somebody to support, because that isn't the case for a lot of these businesses and events in this industry. So that's something that should be applauded and commended. And I want everybody listening to try to support in any way possible. And
Yeah. Even if you don't support us, support that.
yeah.
Support the little businesses out there that are trying to restore their businesses. And so, but all that information will be Tri-C Ghost Hunters, our website, tcghohio.org.
Okay. Well, Greg, thank you for coming on. It was informative
Yes,
and
thank you.
fun. Yeah, we absolutely appreciate it. And anybody listening, that's the end of the show, and we will see you next time. Thanks for squatching, everybody.
Squat you later.